All right. Well, hi, everybody. Again, welcome to our special evening with Hurtigruten. My name is Laura Depesh, and I'm the Vice President here at Burst Travel. We are really excited to have Glenn with us tonight. He is our Business Development Manager. Again, you can see it on the screen. We're going to work through it the rest of the night with Hurtigruten. They have two new spectacular options for you, and I'm excited to hear all about it because I'm going to hear about it at the same time as you. So, Glenn, go ahead and take it away.
Well, thanks, Laura, and thanks for having me. It's great to be here tonight virtually. As Laura mentioned, we're going to spend the entire hour learning how to pronounce our name. Well, maybe not the whole hour, but we do have a slide devoted for that because we do recognize that our name is a little bit more challenging to say. And I'll get into the history and the origins of our name and why we're called Hurtigruten. But we broken it down here phonetically. So it's Hurtigruten. Hurtigruten. We know we're hard to say, but we're impossible to forget. And my name is Glenn Eastwood, and I'm the Business Development Manager with that company with the hard to say name, Hurtigruten. And we work very closely with Burst Travel. So we're very excited to be here. And I'm going to take some time to tell you about our products. So Hurtigruten is made up of two unique and incredible products: our Norwegian Coastal Voyages and Hurtigruten Expeditions. So we'll dig into both of those tonight, our expedition and our coastal product, to give you a glimpse into what it's like to take a Hurtigruten voyage. But first, I want to start out with a short video to get us started that will give you a glimpse into who we are.
All the choices you take in your life will have some sort of impact, in one way or another. Throughout our more than 125 years of operation, we have witnessed the impact of climate change on vulnerable areas. Coming from Norway, a part of the world blessed extensively with pristine nature, pure water, and clean air, we value what we have and want to keep it that way. This is why we made some fundamental decisions on how we operate years ago. To raise spirits for good. For whom, you might ask? Our answer will be for you. For the people living in the small communities we visit. For wildlife, nature, and the environment. Yes, we are talking about sustainability, and we take this seriously. We want our expedition cruises to create change agents for sustainability, and we use traveling and knowledge sharing as our tools to make that happen. This is why we have adopted the UN Sustainable Development Goals as our guide to offer you sustainable expedition cruises. Our long heritage of exploration, both as a nation and as a company, creates a living legacy for today's expeditions. Through the history of mankind, going on an expedition has always been about broadening and expanding horizons. We believe that that is true for today as well. Our goal is to boost and then satisfy any curiosity and knowledge you have about the destination you visit, be it its nature, wildlife, climate changes, history, or culture. We will give you authentic experiences of a destination, and to do so, we have expedition teams on board all our ships. These are experts, authors, researchers, and adventurers, handpicked for your expedition, based on the destination and their specific skills. They invite you to participate in in-depth lectures and interesting activities to gain a greater knowledge of the regions you explore. And they do so with enthusiasm and passion. We think that witnessing the beauty of our planet is sure to leave a lasting impression on you. And you'll talk enthusiastically about these stunning destinations with friends and family for decades to come. To make sure you can speak informatively when you return home, every one of our cruises has a focus on the environment. It is our hope that engaging with nature on our expedition cruise will inspire you to do all you can to cherish and protect the precious world we all share. In short, when you choose to go on an expedition cruise with us, you are setting a new, more sustainable standard for expedition travel.
Well, I just love that video. It always gives me the chills when I watch it. Hopefully you all saw it and were able to get sound. I think we might have had a glitch in the beginning there, but I hope it all worked for you. But before we get into what we do today, let's dig into where we started. So we got our start on the Norwegian coast in 1893, and Hurtigruten actually turns 130 years old next year. It all started with our founder, pictured right here, Richard With, and the steamboat MS Vesterålen, delivering the mail up and down the Norwegian coast, traveling from Bergen in the south to Kirkenes in the north, completing that journey in just 7 days, which was unheard of at that time. Remember, this is before cars. That was the fast route, and that's precisely where the name Hurtigruten was born. As in Norwegian, Hurtig means fast, and Gruten means route. So Hurtigruten, the fast route. Very literal people, these Norwegians. But since then, we've grown to be the largest expedition cruise line in the world, offering over 200 destinations in over 30 countries. At Hurtigruten, we're driven by 3 core principles: science, education, and sustainability. So I'm going to talk about sustainability first, and then we'll get into the voyages themselves. So we at Hurtigruten, we're committed to the UN Sustainable Development Goals, putting them at the heart of who we are in everything that we do. They are our guiding principles, and they've taken us steps ahead of current regulations to offer you a greener and more sustainable cruise for both you and the planet. Let me start with what sets Hurtigruten apart. So that number 1, sustainability. It's in our DNA. We are proud of the progress we've made in a wide range of areas, but rest assured, we're not stopping there. We're just getting started, and there are many more exciting initiatives to come. I could spend an entire webinar talking about sustainability, but in the interest of time, I'm going to start with a few, just give you a few of our initiatives. But first, I want to bring up Roald Amundsen, a pioneering Norwegian explorer and a polar hero. He led the first expedition to traverse the Northwest Passage. He led the first expedition to the South Pole, and he led the first proven expedition to reach the North Pole. But he also had a dream. Here's a quote from Amundsen when he was just 10 years old. "In my imagination, I created an electric ship that could break through all kinds of ice, that nice and elegantly, fearful and irresistible, could sail through Arctic oceans." This was in 1882, when electricity was a fairly new concept. He was a pioneer in more ways than one. But our revolutionary ships are the backbone of what will be the world's greenest fleet. And in 2019, Hurtigruten made Amundsen's dream come true with the world's first hybrid electric powered cruise ship. And we named it after Amundsen, the MS Roald Amundsen. But batteries are just one part of our groundbreaking solutions. Our ships are packed with green technology. But don't just take our word for it. Just last year, in 2021, the MS Fridtjof Nansen, which is the Amundsen sister ship, was rated out of 400 cruise ships to be the world's safest and most environmentally friendly. So some of our initiatives: we are the first cruise line to be fueled with biogas made from organic waste such as dead fish. We operate emission-free while docked in ports that offer shore power connectivity. Our goal is to one day be completely emission-free, and our Norwegian Coastal Express plans to launch a completely emission-free cruise ship by 2030. And we're actually on track to complete that about 5 years early. We are a plastic-free operation as the world's first cruise line to eliminate single-use plastic. Hurtigruten has been focused on reducing plastic pollution for years. But sustainability extends to the food we serve on board as well. By trading locally, we minimize transportation emissions and increase the knowledge and understanding of local food, customs, and cultures among our guests. We encourage you to get involved with the sustainability efforts as well with our Green Stay program. I don't wash my towels and sheets every day when I'm at home, so why do it on vacation? If you simply hang the Green Stay tag on your door, you can skip housekeeping, and not only are you saving energy, power, detergent, water, we also make a donation on your behalf to the Hurtigruten Foundation for every night that you ask us not to clean your cabin. And while we're on that topic, we established the Hurtigruten Foundation to ensure that our guests of tomorrow can enjoy the same unique experiences as our guests of today, working closely with you, our guests, our partners, and our organizations. Hurtigruten believes that we can make a difference by minimizing our operational impact, maximizing the positive contributions we make to local communities. And we focus on three main pillars: conservation of endangered species, fighting against marine and plastic pollution, and supporting the local communities in the areas that we explore. The Hurtigruten Foundation is a platform for you, our guests, as well as our crew, to take a stance and volunteer in worthwhile causes and make a genuine difference together. But the Green Stay program is not the only way you can get involved. The Hurtigruten expedition teams on board arrange larger beach cleanups in carefully selected spots that results in the removal of several metric tons of waste every year. And you can also help while you're on board one of our expeditions with the collection of data through wildlife sightings, science boat studies, and environmental observations in partnership with different science-based research associations around the world. You, our guests, essentially become destination ambassadors by participating in our citizen science program. And we respect nature and the wildlife in the places we visit. We observe wild animals and bird life, but it's done at a distance, so we don't interfere with their natural behaviors. And we do it with the utmost respect for their welfare and habitat. Throughout every voyage and prior to each landing, all guests are briefed and educated on local wildlife guidelines. And Hurtigruten expedition team members are handpicked, trained, and certified annually, ensuring that all preparations, landings, encounters with nature and wildlife happen in accordance with Hurtigruten's strict policies and guidelines. And Hurtigruten respects and supports Indigenous communities, values and cultures and traditions, and maintains a very close cooperation with the communities that make an immense effort to welcome you, our guests, wherever we visit. We offer support to local people and communities that we visit, contribute to the local economy, and make sure that we have a positive influence on those regions. We like to say that we arrive as guests, but we leave as friends. So now that you've seen our first principle and what makes us very different in our core principles as a company, let's take a look at what a Hurtigruten experience is all about, starting with our expedition product. A Hurtigruten expedition is anything but a typical cruise, and let me show you why. So you have the opportunity to sail on one of our 6 purpose-built expedition ships, ranging from the 90-passenger MS Santa Cruz in the Galapagos to the 500-passenger MS Roald Amundsen and MS Fridtjof Nansen. All expedition ships have their own unique character on board. And once upon a time, expedition cruising meant that you were sacrificing comforts. But with Hurtigruten, that's not the case anymore. Take a look at our staterooms. There are a variety of staterooms on board. Our cabins are of Scandinavian design with natural materials to give a more relaxed feel. We have soft lighting, warm wool blankets, natural timber finishes. It's really a home away from home, and it's a fantastic place to relax and sleep. Gone are the cramped cabins and small portholes. On our Amundsen and Nansen, half of our ships have balconies, and our ships that are ocean view have large picture windows. Some of our ships also have heated bathroom floors, which is awesome. But it's also a great place to leave your wet clothes or your rain jacket overnight to dry. It's a tip I learned on the last cruise. So onboard amenities. As you can see, that Norwegian style continues throughout the whole ship with a bright Scandinavian feel. You see our Explorer's Lounge with the top picture, bright floor-to-ceiling windows, where you can grab a beer and just watch the world go by. We also have a gym, a sauna that has a spectacular view out to the ocean. You can see that in that picture over to the right middle. We have jacuzzis, heated jacuzzis, and the Amundsen and Nansen also have a heated infinity pool as well. There's an interactive science center, which is at the heart of our onboard experience. And there are specialty areas where we conduct workshops in photography, biology, and lots of other science subjects. One thing is for sure, though, on a Hurtigruten expedition, you won't go bored. And the culinary experience. The food. All the meals are included, as well as early riser and afternoon treats. House wine, beer, and soda are included at lunch and dinner. And if you want to make it fully inclusive, You can buy the optional drinks package for around $50 a person once you get on board. That includes all drinks, priced $12 or more outside of those lunch and dinner periods. The other cool thing about Hurtigruten is gratuities are not expected. You see, it's not the Norwegian way to tip, so we pass that on to our guests too. The Amundsen in Nansen features 3 restaurants, all inspired by our Norwegian heritage. First, we have Ona, which is the main dining area. Breakfast and lunch is served buffet style while dinner is plated. And then we have Fridheim, which was my favorite. Fridheim is a more of an international street food restaurant on the upscale side, where you're going to find burgers, steaks, waffles, milkshakes, and the famous Fridheim hot dog. And then there's Lindstrom. Lindstrom is our fine dining restaurant with strong roots in traditional Norwegian cooking. Here you'll find exquisitely prepared 4-course meals that are simply to die for. Lindstrom is included for all suite passengers, and for everyone else, it's just a $25 per person upcharge. But the heart and soul of a Hurtigruten trip is the expedition team. These people are authors, research scientists, adventurers, and experts in the field with years of experience. They cover everything from marine biology, ornithology, to even glaciologists, which I didn't know existed till just a few months ago, but it's really cool. They can tell you the age of a chunk of ice or an iceberg just by how deep the hue of blue is, which is it's such a neat science. We have geologists, we have historians, and we have so much more on board. Each expedition team member also does polar survival training, expedition training, as well as IATO and AACO certification. So we make sure that you're in good hands. So why a Hurtigruten expedition? Well, we've been the world leader in exploration travel for over 125 years. We did our first expedition in 1896 up to Svalbard. Svalbard is the northernmost point of civilization in the world, home to the world's northernmost bar, as well as the world's northernmost everything else. Svalbard's actually a really cool place. There's over about 2,500 residents, but double the population in polar bears. And there's the residents make up about 40 different nationalities. So really cool place. I'll talk about Svalbard in a little bit. But that was our first expedition trip 125 years ago. We also have a fleet of small ships that are built for exploration. Each sailing also has an expedition team of experts in their field on board. Our ships boast state-of-the-art science centers, and we get up close to the natural world, but in the most sustainable way. So our guests, though, are not typical tourists, but instead modern-day explorers. Typically, you'll seek authentic, immersive experiences, science and education over entertainment, active exploration to get closer to landscapes, wildlife, and cultures, and you're usually looking to come back with a greater appreciation for nature. But the best part of a Hurtigruten expedition is not just the places we visit, but learning more about those places and the things we have seen. With lectures and state-of-the-art science center, guests can learn as much as they want, with our goal to have everyone leave their trip as ambassadors for the destinations they visit. You'll find professional photographers on board to help you take the best shots on anything from a big camera to a little cell phone. Also, Wi-Fi is included, which is great for keeping in touch with friends through social media back home, and it's good Wi-Fi. We just signed a contract with Starlink, which is Elon Musk's company, and the service is absolutely incredible. Very fast Wi-Fi, faster than what I have here at home. So it is great. And guests can also aid in our science programs that we have on board with our citizen science. So citizen science, we have a wide array of programs that we participate in, where passengers and guests can aid in the collection of data and research through programs around the world. Like one of them, my favorite, the coolest one, is Happy Whale, where you take pictures of whale tails and then we upload it through an app, and just like a fingerprint, the whale will be identified by the picture you uploaded of the whale's tail. This is really important for tracking whales and their populations. But the cool thing is that if the whale hasn't been spotted yet, you can actually name the whale in the National Registry for free. So you can name a whale after yourself or a friend or just some funny name you think of. But also for my fellow bird nerds, there's eBird, which is basically a full database of information on every bird possible. And it's all thanks to our guests. But there are multiple ways for you to be immersed in the destination, from included landings, as you see here in this picture. This is a wet landing where we pull the Zodiac right up to the shore. You step out with a set of stairs, and then you are in the middle of nature, basically in the middle of a documentary. So everything from landings, we have Zodiac cruisings, we have hikes, community visits led by our expedition team. We have optional locally sourced excursions. But we'll also provide you with equipment for your adventure as well. Everybody on board gets one of these great Helly Hansen red jackets. And we also have loaner muck boots that you can take out. They're fitted on board, as well as hiking poles. So we have the equipment you need. And our expedition launch, this is what makes our ships unique. Our expedition launch is at water level as the hull of the ship folds down, providing easy and safe access to our Zodiac. So we launch the Zodiacs in the water, pull them around to our expedition launch, and our expedition team members are there on the platform to provide you that sailor's grip as you step in, safely get you into the Zodiacs, and then we zip off to do landings. So once we have you in the Zodiacs, we send you off on an adventure. Depending on where we are or the weather, you might get to do a landing or that scenic cruise or even an ice cruise. The landing is just as it sounds. We're landing the Zodiacs and we're getting off to walk around, while scenic and ice cruises are cruising around and looking at the scenery in the water. So now you've seen how we take you there. Where do we go? Well, we operate in 30 different countries, and this map draws a little outline of some of the routes that we take. We are summer chasers. So 30 different countries with 150 unique itineraries on 5 continents. There's really something for everyone. And a lot of these are bucket list destinations. We go everywhere from Alaska, Antarctica, the Northwest Passage, Iceland, Greenland, Svalbard, all the way up in the north. But we do more than those cold water destinations. We do trips to places like Galapagos, where we have a ship that's there year round, and West Africa as well. So let's dig into a couple of these destinations. So with 12 to 16 day itineraries between Nome and Vancouver, we take you off the well-beaten path to discover Alaska's wild nature and rich culture. We're taking you to the places that the big ships don't go to the Aleutian Islands, all the way up to Nome, to get you to some remote, unique national parks where other cruise lines just can't get you to. We explore the Aleutian Islands, we do the Inside Passage, and we get to some historic frontier towns. And the 7th continent, Antarctica, which is one of our most favorite destinations. We explore this wild and wonderful frozen continent and see penguins, whales, and seals in their natural habitat. We offer 10 to 23 day itineraries in Antarctica to the 7th continent, and we are the largest operator in the destination. We give you the opportunity to not just visit the peninsula, but we can also take you to the Falkland Islands and the South Georgian Islands as well, which is a must for penguin lovers. You can also join us on an expedition cruise to one of the most extreme yet beautiful and untouched places on Earth, the Northwest Passage. This iconic trip and the passage is notoriously difficult to cross, so we are one of the few that even attempt it. And Iceland's, from soaring volcanoes, sprouting geysers, peaceful fjords, and spectacular waterfalls, join us on an epic expedition to the land of fire and ice. Iceland is an expensive destination to visit by land, but it's a great value to visit with us. We have 9-day full circumnavigation itineraries, and we even attempt to cross the Arctic Circle too. And our newest, and also Greenland. So voyage to Greenland with us and experience awe-inspiring scenery, pristine glaciers, and some of the most photogenic wildlife on Earth. We do both Western and Northeastern Greenland itineraries. The Western Greenland itinerary gives you an insight into UNESCO heritage sites, large icebergs, local communities, and local cultures, while the Northeastern itineraries visit some of the most difficult to visit national parks in the world. And if you're lucky, maybe you'll see some polar bears. And now to one of our newest destinations, follow in the footsteps of Charles Darwin and discover a world of unforgettable wildlife in the Galapagos. I went to the Galapagos a few years ago, And for people who haven't been there, it's so hard to explain. But what makes the Galapagos incredible is the wildlife, the spectacular beauty of the island as well, but the wildlife and how it interacts with humans. It's like nothing that you've experienced anywhere else in the world, because we've always been friendly. They've never viewed humans as a natural predator. So the very diverse wildlife, they are just so friendly and view us as just another friend. They come right up to us, and that's the great part of the Galapagos. But we can experience with Hurtigruten, we have a ship that's based there year round, and we have north and eastern loops on our newly refurbished 90-passenger vessel. So anywhere from 7 to 14 nights. And West Africa, explore the unique history and vibrant cultures of isolated Cape Verde, along with the remarkable biodiversity of the tropical Bisagos Islands. This is a great and biodiverse region that's culture rich and makes for a super unique trip. We're the only cruise line that spends an entire season here in West Africa. And all the way to the British Isles, explore the beautiful and scenic British Isles, from rugged cliffs and remote islands to historic cities packed with culture, small fishing villages, islands with nothing there but wildlife, and unique places to visit that you can't do on the larger ships. And since we need to get from pole to pole, as we are summer chasers, we offer unique trips while we reposition across the Americas. Colorful coastal cities, charming towns, jaw-dropping national parks, ancient civilizations, exotic wildlife, volcanic peaks to coral-filled waters. So at Hurtigruten expeditions, we're all about connection. So just want to play one more short video. Actually, we'll skip past that video. We see that we're running a little short on time. So that's our Hurtigruten expedition product. And as I mentioned at the beginning, though, we have two very unique and very different products. So with our Hurtigruten expeditions, it's a different way to travel, a different way to cruise. We're not pulling up to a port like you do on a traditional cruise ship, where you dock, you walk off the ship, and you're either in the middle of a destination that might be a little touristy, where you can go out and explore, or you take your excursions from there. With Hurtigruten expeditions, as you saw, we pull up to some of the most remote places in the world. We drop the expedition launch off the side of the hull, step into Zodiacs, and zip off to some of the most remote uninhabited destinations, where we pull up with our landing, our wet and dry landings, and we're basically in the middle of a documentary. Our Norway product is a very different product, a little bit more like a traditional cruise, but we zip up and down the Norwegian coast and get into some of the nooks and crannies. I see somebody else is in the waiting room, so I'll let that person in. We get into some of the nooks and crannies of the Norwegian fjord and see the coast in a way that nobody else does. We pull up into ports and we dock just like you would on a river cruise or a traditional cruise, and you get off and you're in these remote towns where Hurtigruten, our ships, are the lifeline to civilization back for them. So we'll dig into our Hurtigruten Norway product. Because I've spent a lot of time talking about our expeditions, let's take it back to our roots, to our own backyard, and to Norway. Norway's wild and dramatic coastline is made for expedition-style adventures, but with our unique take on that. We've been sailing here for 130 years, and we are the experts, showing you both its highlights and its hidden gems. We have two incredible types of cruises that we do here, and I'll tell you about both that we have on offer. So first, the original Coastal Voyage since 1893. This is how we got our start, sailing up and down the coast with Richard With as a lifeline to the Norwegian people. Started as a mail ship where we shipped cargo, and we were under contract and mail, and we were under contract from the Norwegian government. And we, 130 years later, still have that same type of voyage where we shuttle. Very quickly, it was discovered that, hey, this is a great way to also see the Norwegian coastline, to see the fjords, to get in and out of the nooks and crannies. So we very quickly became a vacation, kind of like what happened with some of the train lines, some of the national park train lines, the Oriental Express, the Rocky Mountaineer, where it became a great way to vacation. And we fell into that groove very quickly. Within our first year, we were taking holiday makers. We still offer that now, so we still have our original voyage that works as a ferry route going up and down that Norwegian coast. But then we also have our iconic voyages. We'll talk about both. So since we first began sailing Norwegian coast in 1893, our story has been a collective one, bringing together coastal communities and visitors from across the world. Together with your visits, our sailings has helped to support local businesses, create jobs, and sustain livelihoods. While the coastal communities thrive, we all thrive. Your voyage with us is also about experiencing authentic local cuisine. Our chefs use fresh ingredients sourced from suppliers along the coast, giving you a true taste of Norway. 85% of the food that's served on board our Norwegian Coastal Express and our Norwegian iconic voyages is sourced locally. Say hello to our family of ships. 7 ships that we have in our fleet sailing up and down the Norwegian coast. Each ship is a well-known character on the coast. Whether whichever ship you sail on, though, it'll be your comfortable haven on the waves. Warm, welcoming, informal, and intimate. So we have the 3 classics. As I mentioned, we had up and down the coast, from Bergen in the south to Kirkenes in the north. We visit 34 ports on the way up and 34 ports on the way back down. You ask, how do we do that? Well, if we're doing it in a shorter period of time, or is this a month-long cruise? Well, no, we do it in 12 days round trip. So how do we do that in 12 days round trip? Well, we are a shipping route. So we are under contract by the government. And on some of the ports that we stop at, we're only going to be there for a couple hours. Some we're there for a full day. But we have unique experiences tailored for you on board. So we have a wide array of excursions that you can do as soon as you get off the ship, local sightseeing in town. We also have some excursions where you'll get off the ship in one port, and then you'll reconnect with the ship a couple ports further down later on in the day. So it's a very unique way to travel, where you're going to be traveling on this ship that's a dual purpose, that's also carrying mail, carrying cargo, and it's also carrying people, because this is how the Norwegians travel. Similar to some of the train lines, where there are people that are traveling on vacation, and then there are people that are just using it as transport. The Norwegians do it the same way. So you may find some Norwegians that are there using it as a ferry, some that may stay on for a couple hours, some may stay on overnight and get a cabin themselves. But it's a very, very unique, quirky, and authentic Norwegian way to travel, and a great way to see that Norwegian coast. So we do the classic voyage in 12 days, the 12-day round trip voyage from Bergen up to Kirkenes and then back down. Is a truly authentic experience of coastal Norway. We call it 34 ports, crossing the Arctic Circle twice, and it covers over 2,500 nautical miles. It is the definitive way to see the Norwegian coast. But if you don't have 12 days, if you only have a week, you can do the 7-day classic voyage northbound. If you like wandering around cities, galleries, museums, this is the voyage for you. Starting from Bergen, and then you disembark in Kirkenes in the north, you'll be able to spend a number of hours exploring Norwegian's coast's finest cities. And then we also do that same voyage southbound in 6 days from Kirkenes in the north to Bergen down in the south. And the ports, the 34 ports that we hit on the way up, some ports we're going to hit during the day, and some ports we're going to hit at night. The ones we hit at night on the way up, we hit during the day on the way back down. So the 12-day voyage is really the best way to see everything that Norway has to offer. But if our traditional classic voyage doesn't sound right for you, we also this year are launching our iconic voyages. Now, our iconic voyages are more like a traditional cruise experience. I compare it more to a river cruise, where we are spending more time in port. We're not that shipping route. We're not that mail route. We're not operating as a ferry. Everybody that's on board is there on vacation. So you lose a little bit of that Norwegian charm. You're not interacting with the locals, but this is more of your traditional cruise, where you're going to see everything during the day. We're not going to, you're not going to feel like you're missing ports if you're only doing half voyage. So you get the full experience. And we do it with a little bit more of an upscale, a little bit more of a premium experience. So I'll show you more here. So we have two voyages. So we have our Svalbard Express, which is a recreation of our original expedition route to celebrate our 130th anniversary. It's a nostalgic voyage back to the northernmost reaches of the world, bathed in that never-ending, never-changing summer midnight sun. Svalbard is an incredible destination. It's the furthest point of civilization north, as I mentioned before. It's a land of polar bears, and it's just a great, diverse area to visit. So we have the Svalbard Express with either a 16-day round-trip voyage from Bergen in the south up to the North Cape, and then continuing upward into Svalbard. Or you can do that either one-way northbound or one-way southbound in 10 days. And with the 10-day voyage, you'll spend 8 days on the ship, and you'll spend 2 days on land with a post-trip itinerary and long event. Then, that we operate the Svalbard Express, we operate in the summer months. And then in the winter months, we operate the North Cape Express. So we're making history on the North Cape Express, but we're also following the footsteps of some giants in the past. On board the MS Trollfjord, which is going to be a completely remodeled and retrofit ship that's launching next June, you'll sail in the wake of Vikings and see relics of world wars. You'll find more about our own pioneers in our Hurtigruten history. So the North Cape Express is our first route where we're going to start in Bergen, head up to the North Cape, and then head back down going to Oslo. So you see that bottom tip of Norway. This is the first time one of our Hurtigruten voyages in our 130-year history is actually going to Oslo. So it comes all the way back down to Oslo, or you can do that the reverse way. So the journey takes you from the beautiful city of Bergen on Norway's west coast, up and across the Arctic Circle, all the way to Honningsvåg, which is the gateway of the North Cape. And then from there, your ship turns south, sailing to the Arctic capital of Tromsø and the idyllic Lofoten Islands. So you enjoy spending time in the fairy tale towns along that bottom coast as well. And then you end your voyage in Oslo. So what's the experience going to be like on board? So you're going to be sailing on the MS Trollfjord. And as you can see, very well appointed, very similar to the design that you'll see with a little bit more elegant than what you have on our expedition ships. But still has that Scandinavian design, that Norwegian feel, bright, airy, soft, neutral colors, timber woods in our cabin. So very well appointed cabins. And then Norwegian Coastal Kitchen. So we're going to have a focus on the culinary experience here on board as well, from fishing demonstrations, cooking demonstrations, more of an upscale culinary experience on board our MS Trollfjord with a focus on that Norwegian history and Norwegian flair and Norway's Coastal Kitchen. And then we're also going to have a coastal experience team on board, similar to the team that we have on our expedition ships, which is a 15 to 20 person team. Here we'll have a 5-person team of experts on the Norwegian coast. They'll be by your side as part of your voyage, showing you their home and sharing their stories with you. And we'll have a ton of onboard programs and activities led by our experience team. We're going to have lectures and presentations on board, which is a first on our Norwegian coastal voyages. So we'll have traditional Norwegian themes like fishing history, Norwegian culture, Norwegian food, skiing history, geology, presentations on the fjords and the mountains, the natural wildlife. We'll also have a professional photographer on board to give you photo tips and trips similar to what we have on our expedition ships. We'll have local musicians on board. We'll have handcrafts and art classes. So lots of things for you to do on board your sailing. We're doing this with a sense of nostalgia. On board our ships in 2023, several lectures delivered by your coastal experience team will focus on our long history as a lifeline to the Norwegian coastal communities. This will include personal stories from local guests and crew members. You'll also observe a few selected old-fashioned Norwegian maritime traditions during your voyage. One of which is taking a spoonful or shot of cod liver oil as you cross the Arctic Circle. I actually did that at an event not too long ago, And it's not as bad as you think, but it's cod liver oil in Scandinavia has long been a natural remedy, kind of like we use with apple cider vinegar. You take a spoonful in the morning for good health. And that's been a tradition for centuries, to take a shot of cod liver oil as you cross the Arctic Circle. So that's one of the traditional maritime experiences that you're going to be doing on board our iconic voyages. So these nostalgic rituals will turn back the time, allowing you to experience an evocative golden age of sailing. I just want to show you a glimpse into what our sailings on our iconic voyages will look like. So thank you for spending some time with me tonight to learn more and to get a glimpse into Hurtigruten voyages, Hurtigruten Group, our expedition, and our Norwegian coastal voyages, to get a feel for what it's like to be on board our ships. I hope that I've inspired some of you and that you all want to now book your trip to either come with us to Norway or to go on one of our expeditions to Galapagos or Antarctica or to Iceland, Greenland to see the polar bears. I hope I've inspired you. And if I have, please get in touch. Please reach out to Birch Travel, stop by one of your local offices, or reach out to them at birchtravel.com or through their 1-800 number. So that does it for me. I think we'll, if we have some time, we'll open up the floor if we have some questions.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Glenn. Absolutely inspired me. Unfortunately, every time I do one of these webinars, I end up with like a longer and longer bucket list. So don't tell my husband that I've added a few more, but I have a few questions. If anybody else has questions, feel free to put them in the chat, or you can unmute yourself and just chime on in. But I am wondering, okay, the Zodiacs look amazing. The onshore expeditions look incredible, but do I need to be an athlete in order to do that? What sort of fitness level do I need to have in order to partake in something like that?
That's a great question. I would say no. We say that we are adventurous. We're not overly active. The Zodiacs, the sailings, they're completely optional. There are some passengers who are observers who want to stay on the ship and observe from our observation decks, from our Explorer Lounge, from their balconies. That maybe will go on land in some of our destinations like Antarctica once or twice, but really want to observe, and that's perfectly fine. But we are not overly active as far as a expedition company. We have the most adventurous or active thing that we have is getting in and out of the Zodiacs, but we have a great team of expedition leaders that are there to support you. One, our platform folds down right to sea level. So it's you literally, I did this on one of our ships just a couple weeks ago in Central America. You literally just step off of the platform into the Zodiac. It's super easy. It's just like maybe a little bit of a big step, like compared to like a staircase, but you step right in and there's expedition team leaders. So there's one on each side of you and they give you that sailor's grip where they grab your forearm and that you grab their forearm and they just kind of guide you in. So they are awesome at it and they slide you right in, which is great. And we've had people that are that were a little nervous about it. Some in their 30s, some people in their 40s, 50s that were a little nervous that didn't have any problems. And we've had people that were in our group that were a little older in their 70s, or even we had one woman who was in her 80s and had no fear and just jumped right in and it was fine. But once you do it for the first time, you're like, oh, this wasn't that bad. What was I a little nervous about? Because it's super easy. But that's really the most adventurous thing we have. Once we get you onto land, you step right off onto the staircase and then it's your own adventure. So you can choose. There will be expedition teams that will lead hikes if you do want to go for a little hike, but we usually don't have anything that's over, say, 3/4 of a mile to a mile max. We usually do keep pretty tight to the ship, or you can just go on the beach and explore, a few, 10, 20, 30, 40 yards right off the beach. There's usually wildlife right there for you to interact with. So it is not overly active. However, each day we will have options for people who want to be active, who want to get out and explore. We will have some hiking and some things to do, or you can just get off onto land and walk the beach and wander around and explore with wildlife as well. So, and that really does depend on the destination that you're looking at as well. There are some destinations where we have optional excursions that can get very active. Like even in Norway, we have some great hiking that are some really intense hikes that are optional excursions. And then we have some that aren't. But I would say overall, as like a regular program is not overly active. But we do have options if you do want to be more active.
Perfect. And I think, probably if there's something specific that you're looking for, some sort of, whether it be snorkeling or a specific hike, let us know and we can help match you with the right itinerary for that type of activity. So Mary, hopefully that helps. But if that doesn't, I'll kind of add more info in the chat in a minute. We have another question from Chester. Do you have a cruise between Bergen and Trondheim for 2 or 3 days?
So we do have a cruise between Bergen and Trondheim. I'm actually not sure how long it is. I'm just bringing up my portal now to see if I can get you a quick answer on that. But that's definitely something that we do, and I can tell you how long that cruise is here, hopefully in a second. And of course, the experts at Birch can help you book that. But I'm just waiting for my computer to load, and I can tell you how long that sailing is. So bear with me.
And maybe this is a question inside of that. On the classic journey, where it's more of the ferry system, it sounds like you could kind of get on or off wherever you'd like. Do you need to do every step on the way up and every step on the way back? Or could you choose to maybe do part of it, stay there for a few days, and then catch the reverse? So,
this is an interesting question. And I really think it depends on the traveler and the type of traveler that you are, because we have it when you do either the full or the half route. You're getting on and off to ports at one times that are good, boarding, embarking, and disembarking times, and you are getting into ports that are set up for travelers, for tourists, to make it a more seamless experience to get on in Bergen, off in Kirkenes, or on in Kirkenes and off in Bergen. So it's set up for a smooth transition and a smooth experience. There was a period of time for probably until 6 months ago, for probably about 5 or 6 years, where we actually didn't sell what we call the port to port, where you're getting on in one random port, you're getting off in another random port. We only sold that to Norwegians, and it had to be booked in Norway. If you say went to Norway, and you could book it at our office there, we do have offices in Norway, but you had to book it in Norway. But now we do book that port to port. You can book it through Birch Travel, and you can do that. But I caution you, And I'm sure your agent with Birch will caution you as well, because it is a little bit of a different experience. It's kind of like getting off at a train at a random train stop. You might get off and you're in a small little town. It might be challenging to pick up transportation, especially if you're joining the ship. It may be a little bit different or awkward to join when you're doing that port to port journey. So we definitely can do that, like this Bergen to Trondheim one, and that is one of the easier ones because we do get into Trondheim around 10 a.m. So you can do that one, and that is in 2 nights that you spend on our ship. But it is it's a little bit of a different experience. So definitely get with your travel advisor and make sure that it's the right experience and the right fit for you. But we do sell it that way as a port to port journey.
Perfect. Thank you. Any other questions? Again, feel free to unmute or you can throw it in the chat. I'll give you 30-second warning here. I guess I'll put in my last question because again, we're going through my bucket list and seeing the Northern Lights is one of those.
Yeah.
So is there a particular time of year or a particular route where you would say, okay, Laura, your chances of experiencing this would be, much better, at least if you took this one?
Yeah. So your best chance to see the brightest, most vibrant Northern Lights are in the winter months. So say right about now from mid-November straight through till about the end of February. That's when you're going to get the best chance to see the brightest, most vibrant Northern Lights. However, if you look at that Northern Light, I keep wanting to say Norwegian lights. We don't own the Northern Lights. If you look at the Northern Light cone and you see the different kind of intensities that they have, it's kind of like looking at a weather map. It's always the most intense over Norway. We are the best place to see the Northern Lights scientifically. And you can see the Northern Lights really, we started getting reports on our internal Facebook group Workplace of our crew seeing the Northern Lights in August. So you can start seeing the Northern Lights into the fall and all the way through until late spring. I would say your best times to see them are going to be between the months of November to early March is you're going to see them, I would say. As such, we also have our Northern Lights guarantee, where if you go between November 1st and March, I believe it's March 15th, we guarantee that you'll see the Northern Lights. And if you don't see them, if a member of our crew doesn't see them and they alert you, no matter what time of day or night it is, that there is a Northern Light, they have an announcement on the ship. But if the crew doesn't see the Northern Lights, we will refund you. Not refund your cruise, but we will put you on another cruise to come back and sail with us. So we do have that Northern Lights guarantee.
Well, good. Then I'll definitely keep that on my bucket list and save that for the winter.
And that is the challenge with being in this industry, is we always have these things where we see and it's like, oh, I need to do this. The bucket list grows. And the fun fact, Hurtigruten was my first wow moment starting in the travel industry. I started in the travel industry about 12 years ago. And it's, I think we all have those wow moments and you'll keep having them. I just had another one a couple weeks ago with a product I didn't know existed in a destination I had never thought to visit. But working in this industry, you always have these wow moments. And Hurtigruten was my first one. So
well, hopefully we'll be creating, we'll be sending some of our travelers and your way and creating those wow moments for them as well. Again, Glenn, thank you so much for hosting us tonight. If anybody has any additional questions, you can go to our website. You can find a contact us form there. But like I said at the beginning of this is recorded. We're going to post this both on our Facebook page as well as our YouTube page. So probably tomorrow, if you go to youtube.com/birchtravel, you'll be able to see this webinar as well as some other ones that we've had previously. But listen, if this isn't on your list now, I'm not sure what to tell you. This is pretty incredible. So we'll leave you with that for the night. Thank you for joining us, and we'll hopefully hear from all of you soon. Thanks, Glenn.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye, guys.